Let's kind of talk about another match preview for the Wealdstone game on Saturday. A game of huge importance for Notts. You know, we're without a win in 4 games. We need 3 points. You know, we need to show the league what we're about. We need to just bounce back. We're on a bad run yet. You know, it happens. It happens to the best teams. But, you know, it's more important now than it ever has been for us to get 3 points, I think. So hopefully we can do it, and hopefully, you know, things that have been said and done in training have worked, and we can get a positive result from Saturday's game.
Going on to the game against Wealdstone, actually now Notts, with the recent performances and no winning 4, sit closer to 19th place Wealdstone than they do to top of the league, Sutton. So Wealdstone 19th, 29 points. Notts somehow still 6th on 38 points. Now, Wealdstone are a really tricky opposition, and you can see that with some of the results they've picked up. Yes, they're 19th. They had a very good start to the season, but they've had some really strange results. So very, very positive. They've gone and got 1-1 draws with Torquay, beat Bournemouth 1-0. They've got 0-0 with Eastleigh. Some very good teams there they've got good results against. But then they've gone and got a 4-0 loss to Maidenhead in there, and a 2-0 loss comfortably to Altrincham. So very mixed bag of results, and they're showing that they can perform against the top teams, but maybe losing their points in the games they'll be expecting to have more of a chance in. If we look at the table, the goals conceded, they've conceded 51 goals in 25 games. Now that is huge. That is huge. Notts have conceded 19. Now 51. They're conceding more than 2 a game on average, and that's got to be a positive sign for Notts. They've got to go and think this defence is poor. And last time we played them, it was a 3-0 win for Notts, comfortably won 3-0 in that game. That's one of maybe a handful of games this season where Notts have dominated for the whole fixture. You've got to think, with the confidence of knowing they can beat Wealdstone 5-0, that coupled with that 51 goal ship, that's a huge amount. You've got to hope that the stats point in Notts' favour for this one. Now, 3 players to watch out for. I've gone with Isted, the goalkeeper. First of all, 51 goals conceded. He's going to have a really good performance, because there are going to be shots coming on his goal without a shadow of a doubt. And I know Notts aren't creating a lot, but there's no way that there's not going to be some shots going on target this game. Next player, I've gone with Ross Lafayette. I picked him out in the reverse fixture. A lot of non-league experience, and he actually scored his first goal for a while against Kings Lynn in their recent 3-1 win. I mean, they've beat Kings Lynn 3-1. We could only draw and struggle at their place to get the win. So that shows that this league can throw up some strange results. And the final player, I've gone for Danny Parish, 22-year-old striker. Their top scorer this season. He's got 7 goals. Now, we were dealing with strikers really, really well. And the back 4 were really doing a good job, and in the past few games they've just looked very ropey, and I think that's to do with the midfield. And if the midfield don't cover them, don't give them enough protection, then we're going to struggle with the likes of Danny Parish, who we wanting to net a goal against the Magpies.
Right then, the squad. So I'm just going to skim over names that will have injuries. So we've got Brinley, we've got Ben Turner, we've got Cal Roberts, we've got Damien McCrory. You know, there's obviously going to be a handful of other players that have picked up Notts, but nothing of any major injury, so I'm not going to mention any more names. But one thing I did want to mention, is why I've skimmed over the injuries and not going into too much detail, is the squad have a bit of a summit today in training. So they all rallied around and they were talking about what needs to be done, and they agreed that it was togetherness. You know, the squad is just so low on confidence at the minute because of results. It was an hour-long summit, so you're thinking, you know, a lot has been discussed in that time. You know, for it to just to be sat there talking for an hour, it's a long time. Granted, there's a lot of players and people there to be talking, but I'm hoping that getting it out in the open, you know, it's there, it's raw, they've got that emotion out, and they're ready to just put it in the past and start getting results, start scoring goals. So, yeah, with that being said, I think it's a good thing that's happened, and it's also good that I feel like it's been talked about, because stuff like that isn't really talked about too much, I don't think, in football. So, you know, it is good. So yeah, I will move on to our lineup that we would like to see. In goal, Sam Slocum. I don't think you can really pick anyone else. Right back, Dion Kelly-Evans. I think he's been great this season. Don't get me wrong, of recent, he's not been his usual self. He's had 1 or 2 off games. But, you know, in reflection to what he's given this season, I think he, for me, is number 1 right back. And centre-backs, we've gone for Ellis and Lacey. I think Ellis has come in, granted that he wants game time, that's why he's left Tranmere. He said it in his presser today. The only reason he's really left Tranmere is to get more game time, and that's obviously been promised to him. So he's obviously going to be playing a lot of games. So interesting to see how he does, because I think he's about 31, so he's got a lot of experience. So it'll be good to see how he gets on. And left back, gone for Barnett. Now for me, this is one of the players that's probably lowest on confidence at the club at the minute, but he's only going to regain that by playing well and getting a good result and putting a good performance in. So I think put him out there and see how he does, and just if things aren't working, maybe change it up a little bit. But yeah, obviously that's the back four. Before I go on, I'm going to say that me and Tom have changed it to a 4-4-2. Done this because I feel like the 4-2-3-1's just stopped working now, whether it be the way that we've been playing it or the way teams have assessed it against us. I just feel like we need a change, so we may as well start with a 4-4-2. Right mid, going for Enzio. Best player on the pitch, wasn't he, on Tuesday night, so I don't think you can leave him out. Left mid, Miller. I think we've not really seen too much of him in his preferred sort of winger position, so it'd be good to see him there, and I feel like he could offer us a lot. Central midfield then. Difficult choice this was, but I've sort of took the lead on this one, so don't give Tom any brunt if you don't agree. Ruben Rodriguez and Matty Wolf. Now, Matty Wolf and Ruben Rodriguez are obviously young players, but I feel like we just need that sort of youthful energy in the middle of the park, you know, willing to try, willing to control the ball, willing to do those driving runs, and just play it simple, you know, get the passing right, because I feel like that is a big thing that we're lacking in at the minute. So I think if they can put in a good performance, it's just going to help the whole squad, because they're young players, and let's see how they do, you know. Hopefully we see them. I doubt it's going to happen, but that's the lineup that we want, you know. Up top, I think Wharton, you can't really change him. He's just Wharton, isn't he? He's our best striker at the club, I think. And the other striker, now we were a bit struck on this one, so sort of gonna leave it open. Won't mind seeing Knowles, won't mind seeing the new lad Knight, because, you know, we've heard that he's blisteringly fast, he's got goals in him, as is Knowles, so I feel like they could be sort of similar players, but with him being, you know, a permanent Notts player, be good to see him start. Hopefully his fitness is up to scratch and he can start the game. But yeah, that is it. You know, we've changed it up a little bit, a few maybe big calls in there with the central midfield, but I feel like those changes need to be done. Can't see it happening, but you know. For my prediction then, it's impossible to call, I feel. You know, is the squad going to be feeling better after having the talk? Is there going to be big changes in the lineup? At this moment, we're not sure. From recent performances, you'd have to guess it's going to be probably a draw, but as you probably know by watching these match previews, my predictions, I think I've probably guessed maybe 2 draws in my time. I'm quite an optimistic guy, so I'm going for a 2-1 Notts win. I'm getting Wharton to get one and Enzio to get one. I'll pass it over to Tom for his prediction.
It seems like I'm just, after recent results, going to go for a win just because it's not somewhere in Notts channel, but I'm going to go for the win purely here because I think Notts' fortune has got to turn around. It's got to. For me, the performance is huge. The performance is massive. If Notts win 1-0 and perform how they did in the past 4 games and they scrape a 1-0, for me, it's going to feel like a loss because another poor performance on top is just masking it. So we need a fantastic performance. We need it to be one where we're dominant. At least away from home, you're not going to get 90 minutes. It needs to at least be 60 minutes where Notts are in full control. So I'm going to go 1-0. I'm going to go 1-0 for Notts. And after the players, it's been said this week, have come together themselves to try and sort any issues out, really G themselves up. I've got to say, I think it's going to be Carl Woodson. I go from week in, week out, but he wasn't a threat in the week. He's going to have to be a threat. He's going to terrorise their back line, I think, and I'm going 1-0 Notts.